Hey, it's Amy. Welcome to the live webinar room. Awesome to have you on this awesome, beautiful August day. So happy with how our summer's turned out. You are in the live webinar room. It's part of a weekly webinar that I host called Breakthrough to Your Fun and Fabulous Life. And my name is Amy Engelmark. Every week I am your host, and I'm training on different topics like stress management, helping you achieve time management so you can have more time, helping you create life balance so that you don't feel so stressed out, worn out, or burnt out. So you're in the right place if you're an entrepreneur or a CEO, if you are someone who is balancing a lot of responsibilities and you need to know some tools and proven strategies to help you have a more balanced lifestyle, better health, and more mental clarity, you're in the right place. I've been spending a lot of time in the sun and a lot of time creating balance for myself this summer. So I have a lot to share with you today. If you're joining me live, I invite you to put your name and where you're from in the chat room. I'm going to have a sip of water while you do, and then I will share a quick story of mine with you and my slides, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the training today. So as you join and as you put your name up there in the chat box, I want to encourage you to stick around for the live training until the end, because every week I give away a free book. One that I am loving right now is called Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Daniel Lapine. I've never read anything from a Jewish author, and it's been really interesting. So many of my clients want help with increasing their productivity, their income, and their free time. So this book will really, really help. For those of you who are joining and you're watching the replay, welcome. Great to have you as well. I'm going to be sharing a link to the 2 free chapters of my upcoming ebook. It's called From Burnt Out to Bliss. It's for those of you who are high achievers and you want to know how to have more fun again. You want to create more time freedom for yourself. Well, these 2 chapters will really help, because each day there's an action step for you to take to help move you forward in those ways. Let me share my story with you that has everything to do with our topic today. Our topic is on overcoming exhaustion and burnout. It's going to be good. It's going to be powerful, and it's going to be really helpful. My story begins when I didn't have a lot of work on my hands. I was working, but I didn't have children yet. I was newly married, and my stress levels were very low. I didn't know what it felt like to feel exhausted. I'd heard of the word burnout, but I wasn't too sure how it felt because I hadn't experienced it myself. I'd heard people talking about it around me, but I'd never had the personal experience. Life moved forward, and we had 2 baby boys, 2 years apart, and I started working more. I started adding studies to my plate. I started studying to become a life coach and stress management consultant. So my plate became much more full. Everything started to feel urgent. I was one of those people who became someone who said, I don't feel like I have enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. And I would say that more often. And I never used to say that. And I think it was one of the things that was causing me stress, among many. I got to the point where my husband was saying, Amy, put down your cell phone. And in my head, I was stressed out, anxious, and thinking, I've got to keep up with everything or something's got to give. You know, I'm sure you felt that way as well. My kids were saying, Mom, you work too much. Mom, stop working. Come play with me, Mom. Sit down with me, Mom. And I felt like I just didn't have enough time and I couldn't stop. Have you ever felt like you're in that cycle or on that wheel and you just got to keep turning it, or you're going to fall off or something's going to crack? That's exactly how I felt. So the anxiety and pressure was very high. I was feeling very worn out. And when that was happening to me, I was feeling like on autofocus, right? I was only thinking about work. And so my social life was suffering. My life with my extended family, I didn't have as much time with them as I wanted. And time with my husband was becoming very limited as well. I was starting to treat my kids in ways that I wasn't happy with because I was losing my patience sometimes. And so I wasn't proud of my actions. And it's really important for me to live in alignment with my values. When you don't, it causes friction inside. It causes you to act in ways that you're not proud of. So that's where I ended up. Thankfully, I poured myself into learning lots and lots about life balance, self-care, stress management, time management, setting healthy boundaries, learning how to let go of control. What happened was I started applying everything that I learned, the wisdom, experience, knowledge, skills, tools to my own life and my own predicament. And what happened was I was able to start turning my life around. And I credit a big part of that turnaround to God's influence in my life and my relationship with God. He's very dear to me. And I know that spiritually, if I didn't have that relationship, I wouldn't be at the same place that I'm at right now. Then I shared everything that I learned with my clients when I began my practice. Their lives started improving in ways that just made me so happy, made their spouses happy, made it so that they could be more productive even though they were taking more time off and their stress had decreased. So beautiful things started blossoming in my clients' lives and they started getting the same results that I was getting. Rock on. Super awesome, right? That leads me to where I am today. I want to share with you some of the tools and strategies that I've learned along the way from my own life experience, my own studies, and my own reading so that you can turn your life around and you don't have to get to that point of burnout. If you're somebody who's feeling worn out right now, you still have hope. If you're someone who has burnt out already, there is still hope, and I can show you how to get back on track, get your health back, hopefully improve your relationships, and really kickstart your health back to where you want it to be. Sound good? If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to share them in the chat box and we can connect there. It's a really fun way to get to know one another. Also, if you're just joining us and you've just heard me share my own personal story, please share with me what your name is and where you're from so we can connect. I'm going to ask questions along the way, and I'd love your feedback. I'd love to see what is most important for you to learn during this webinar today. Do you want to touch more on strategies to deal with stress so that you don't feel worn out and eventually burn out? Do you want to talk about triggers so that you are more self-aware? Maybe you want to talk more about how you can focus on getting your health back after burnout has happened. Let me know in the chat box there, and I can lean more heavily on in my training on helping you get answers to your questions that are more specific, okay? It's going to be fun. Here we go. I will share with you my slides now. This webinar series you're a part of today is called Breakthrough to Your Fun and Fabulous Life. It's going to help you create more time for yourself, and I'll teach you how to de-stress in healthier ways so that 2016 can become one of the best years of your life, a real turnaround point in your life. You're going to discover ways to increase your productivity without decreasing anything that you want to hold on to. And what I mean by that is, as your productivity increases, you might think that you're going to get more stressed out and anxious and maybe burn out. But I'm going to show you how you can become more productive and still hold on to that healthy balance. You'll also learn why mastering your mindset is really key to taking healthy actions and creating a healthy routine for yourself. I'll show you steps to increase your energy and mental focus. And you'll learn what new habits you might want to consider adopting so that you can become more successful in your business life or career, and happier, and make a bigger impact with your work. So these webinars are fabulous for those of you who are really motivated and are high achievers. They're live. They happen every week, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I also host workshops live, and this is me with some of the women I met with last year. Like I said at the beginning, stick around because I'm going to give away a free book. It's called Thou Shall Prosper, and I'm in the middle of reading it right now. It's just a fabulous book, wisdom from a Jewish man, Rabbi Dr. Daniel Lapine. It's really helpful for those of you who want to increase your productivity and make a bigger impact with your work. My promise for you today is that I'm going to focus on really making exhaustion and burnout fun for you to learn about. I know that as a busy professional and somebody who's a real high achiever and somebody who's really driven, that it is a challenge to have a healthy balance, and it's something that you need to fight for. But I want to encourage you that through these webinars, you're going to learn how you can have both, how you can have your cake and eat it too. And you don't have to be so stressed out. So I'll show you habits so that you can develop so you can have more fun time and more time freedom and flexibility than you already have. A little bit about me. I'm the author of the upcoming book I was telling you about, From Burnt Out to Bliss. It's a 30-day challenge for high achievers. I'm a trainer, speaker, and professional life coach, and I work with entrepreneurs, people in corporate, community and business leaders, people who are high achievers and they want to have more free time, they want to boost their productivity, and they really want to kickstart their health while they decrease their stress. It's all so good. I host workshops and group coaching programs with members from all over North America, and I use what I teach. So the skills and tools that I share with you every week, I use them in my own life. I don't just say, here, do this, and then I don't practice what I preach, right? My workshops cover different topics like creating healthy boundaries, learning how to prioritize your own health and sanity before other people's so that you don't burn out and become exhausted. I teach people how to create healthy life balance so that they can become highly successful in their personal lives as well as their business lives and not feel so anxious and stressed because they're feeling like they have lack of time. So here I am in a number of different occasions where I've spoken publicly. Just love it. It's a really effective way for participants to learn and grasp the techniques that I teach. Personally, I love spending as much time outdoors in nature as possible. Here's me and my boys. There's Simon on the left. He's 8, soon to be 9, and Gavin's just turned right. He's turned 11. He's on the right there. We're entwined in a piece of long bull kelp from the west coast of British Columbia where I live. Here's Gavin and I during a hike this past winter. And here's our whole family together. There's my husband Beach on the left-hand side. We all of us love being outside and spending time together. Let's move into the live webinar topic for today. It's called Overcoming Exhaustion and Burnout. And it's going to be very, very useful for you. As you are very well aware, I'm sure, there are very real consequences to moving at breakneck speed and not taking consistent breaks for yourself when you're in business for yourself or when you're a leader and people are relying on you in the workplace. So what are some of the consequences for you? I know when I talk to my clients and people on social media like Facebook ask me questions all the time. You know, Amy, how many people have you worked with that just feel like they don't have enough time in the day? How many people have you worked with, Amy, that feel like They don't know how to manage all the responsibilities on their plates, like driving kids to activities, being there emotionally for their spouse, making meals at home and taking care of the house, being a leader and an example, a role model for their children and their colleagues and patients, clients, all these things that we need to be a leader in our own lives can sometimes bring us to the point where we feel really exhausted, where we feel worn out. Because if you're someone like a lot of my clients are, you probably have a really big caring heart, you're very highly driven, you're very focused, and you're a great multitasker. So you always are taking a lot onto your own plate. And the consequences of that, sometimes when you don't have healthy boundaries and you're not as self-aware as you could be, they're big and they're real. Exhaustion can strip you of the mental focus that you need in order to make decisions like a pro, decisions on the spot when it's really stressful. Exhaustion can strip you of any desire to to have balance, because you don't have energy left to even think about calling a friend and talking on the phone, let alone getting together with them. So you know the consequences of exhaustion and burnout? They're big, and it can affect your health in very negative ways, as I'm sure it has some of you already. Have you ever done this? You know, I was talking about losing my temper sometime, losing my patience sometimes with my kids, sometimes regretting things that I say to others as well. And I have to really take a closer look on how I'm taking care of myself and how I'm prioritizing my own needs. So can you liken with this? You know, can you understand what it feels like to lose your temper or to lose your patience, because you're not actually prioritizing your own needs? You're looking after everyone else's before yourself. So say I in the chat box if you've ever felt like this. When you've hit a wall and you've burnt out, you're often missing out on the romantic side of your life as well. Your libido will noticeably decrease. You won't feel like you are really connected with your spouse or your friends either, because you're so exhausted that sometimes you don't even want to come home, because you know that you're going to it takes energy just to interact with your family members, the people that you love the most. They should be the people that you want to spend the most time with. But sometimes my clients have told me, I get stressed out just thinking about leaving work and coming home, because I know that there's going to be crying kids or a spouse that needs this or that. And it's just more stress, right? That's a perspective that will drag you down. If you don't have tools to manage your stress well, it can lead to burnout. And burnout and exhaustion leads to decrease in libido, a decrease in feeling connected with the people who matter to you most, your partner, your romantic other, your children, your friends. All those relationships can dwindle off if you're not careful. And if you're there right now, then this is the perfect webinar for you to be listening to. What I'd like to ask you is to grab a pen and paper if you don't have one right now, because this is where you want to take notes. You need to unravel why you got to the place where you're at right now. You need to understand what your triggers are so that you're not going to get to the same place again. You're not going to feel so worn out and exhausted again, because you've got this awareness now from doing this exercise. So I want you to take the time right now, grab your pen, grab your paper, and I want you to write down what starts leading me to a place where I feel worn out and exhausted. I want you to write a list of at least 3 things that make you feel exhausted. And I don't want you to say my spouse. I don't want you to say I want you to avoid blame right now, and I want you to avoid making excuses in this list. This is a list for taking responsibility. So what I want those 3 things to be on your list is true reasons, if you're being truthful and honest with yourself, 3 of the top reasons that you think lead you to feeling exhausted. So for a lot of people, some of the things that could be top on that list are maybe feeling uncomfortable with saying no. It could be, well, I feel like I'm lazy or selfish if I have, if I stop work at a certain time. So that is to do with your beliefs. The first one is to do with your boundaries. So what is it for you? What are the top 3 things that make you feel exhausted? You might feel like, oh, I can write a list of 10 things. So write 10 things down and then kind of sift through your list, because some of those things might need to go in a list of excuses. So write a title of excuses and put the ones under excuses that feel like either you're blaming someone else or making an excuse for your exhaustion, for what leads you to feeling exhausted. Here's a testimonial from a family physician on Vancouver Island who I worked with. She is a mom. She was a mom of 1 son, and now she's a mom of 2. When she came to me, she just had 1 little boy, and she was feeling very negative. She was feeling like she had no balance in life between her work life and her personal life, and her health goals were not being met, period. She was not feeling good about her body. She wasn't feeling good about herself in her inner life. She was in a really bad, negative mental space. And she really felt stuck. She needed tools to unravel why she was feeling so stressed and negative, and how to create a healthy balance between work and family life and her personal life. So I gave her a structure and a formula that I use and that works in my other clients' lives. And she was able to change her thinking patterns, and she became much happier. She also felt much more peaceful inside, and she noticed that her household, the feeling in her household was much more peaceful, and the feeling between her and her husband was much more peaceful, less anxious and negative and tense. With the formula that I gave her, she also was able to become much more self-aware, so that when she was stressed, she could work through the emotion instead of staying in that place of feeling stressed for too long. Her sleep dramatically increased, the amount of sleep she was getting, which meant she felt like she was having more energy every day, and she became much more gentle on herself. So you can see a rhythm here in this testimonial. She was much more energetic. She had much less stress. She felt much more peaceful. And she started taking up yoga almost every weekday, where before she felt like she had no time for it. So I just love that when somebody's ready to take massive action, they're going to get really great new results. Here's the next step in the exercise I'm leading you through to start becoming more aware of the triggers that lead you to feeling exhausted, so that you can take back control and see that you have more control over your life and situation than you might have believed before. Just having a sip of water here. So the third question I want you to write down is, what do you fear the most? So let's say that you're afraid that others will think that they're going to judge you, right? Maybe some people will, maybe they won't. It really doesn't matter. But fear can rule you to the point that you don't allow yourself to take breaks. You don't prioritize your health and happiness anymore, or the way you want to, because you're afraid of how others will view you. Some of you might be afraid that others will think you're lazy. Some of you might be afraid others will think you are selfish. Some of you might think be afraid others will think you're proud. So if that's you and you're afraid of others' opinions of you, probably that will lead you down this path of fear. You have to ask yourself, what would happen if they viewed you that way? Well, maybe your bigger fear is that you would lose some friendships, or you would lose face in your community and be treated differently. Okay, you want to ask yourself again, what am I even more afraid of? What would that lead to if I lost some relationships, or people kind of shunned me in the community and left me out of certain activities, and maybe they didn't invite you to certain things anymore, certain functions? Well, maybe in the end, the biggest fear is that you'll be lonely and alone. Who knows? Maybe it's that your biggest fear is that you're going to end up on the street corner. You completely lost your success and you have hardly any money. This is what fear does to you. So I want you to walk yourself through the exercise, starting with writing down the question, what do you fear most? Because you need to understand what kind of grasp fear has on your life before you can move forward and break the power that fear has over you. And all of you can do this. All of you can break the power that fear has over you, but first you need to understand what kind of lie fear is trying to tell you. Once you've done that, we can move forward. Once you've walked yourself through that from fear to trust, or from fear to confidence exercise, usually you come out the other end with a lesson. And you can ask yourself, what lesson have I learned? Or if you want to make a shift in your perception, you could say, if I die tomorrow, would I regret not changing this about my life? Probably, right? So ask yourself, write down this question. What would you do if you had your courageous hat on right now? What do you think you would do if you were coming from a very courageous place and you knew that you were bigger than your fears? Because fears, the worst case scenario hardly ever happens, and you need to remember that you are bigger than your fear. So write down a few actions that come to mind that you want to prioritize, that you would take action on if you were wearing your courageous hat right now. So write down a few of those. If you're joining us live, I totally invite you to put your name and where you're from in the chat room, just to your right there. And I see people are joining. Hi, welcome. Great to have you. It's always awesome to have you here live. Let's move forward with our training. This is where you build your structure in your support network. And I'm not just talking about people, even though others are really helpful in supporting you because they can offer you accountability and, mental, emotional support, help you stick to your new goals. In order for you to create a balanced life, you need to create structures and routines for yourself to shift how you are living your life from right now to how you want to be living. So who are your biggest supports? I want you to write down the top 1 to 5 people who you could rely on as accountability partners, as support when you're not feeling strong enough to follow through with your goals, your health goals, your time management goals, your stress management goals. Write down those top 5 names of people who could be an awesome support for you. And what actions have you been delaying that you would do now? Maybe they are incorporating more exercise into your life. Maybe it's incorporating more time in nature into your life. Maybe it's spending 3 times a week of consistent time with your children, or going out on a date, or making a time to connect with your spouse, a consistent goal every week. I don't know what you want to prioritize as a goal to start restructuring your life, but create a goal for yourself that if you know you could achieve that, it would really dramatically start shifting your life. Just one small change starts a ripple effect in your life. It's quite exciting. It really does work. But in order for you to stick to that goal, you need support. So who are the people? What action have you been delaying that you would take action on now? So write those things down. Because when you take action, I don't know how to pronounce this woman's last name, Joan Baez, I think. There's a quote that she said, and it's, action is the antidote to despair. So if you're feeling in a place like you're in a place of hopelessness, despair, exhaustion, burnout right now, getting into action is going to help you massively shift how you're feeling. So let's move forward. Actually, before we do, a structure can also be reminders. So it could be something you put on the fridge, a reminder. It could be something you put on your phone, a reminder. It could be an email you send your coach. Like some of my clients, they send me emails letting me know what their week is going to look like as far as their goals are concerned. So they have accountability there. So the structures that support you to take action towards your goals, they can be people, they can be reminders on digital devices, they can be written reminders, they can be a chair left out in a different place of your home to help you twig that reminder in your head and stay on track and focused during your busy life. Here's a testimonial of a lawyer client, a client of mine who is a lawyer. She came to me when she was feeling very stressed out and feeling like she didn't have enough time for family or friends. She didn't have enough time for her own personal goals or spiritual goals because she was so successful in her line of work that she didn't know how to balance the other side of her life. How was she supposed to make time for her health, exercise, eating healthy when she felt like she had no free time? How was she supposed to manage her stress when she had such a heavy workload and deadlines to meet that she had no clue how she was going to meet? So she was feeling quite lost and overwhelmed and stressed out. That's a great place to search for a coach from. She benefited immensely from the skills that I showed her. She started taking action on the steps that I suggested, and she took away some great keys. She was able to switch her mindset from avoiding things and feeling insecure about how she was going to create this lifestyle she wanted to create, to really moving forward from a place of confidence and self-awareness and knowledge about how to move forward with the action plan we created together. So now her spiritual and personal goals are totally flourishing. And because I know this client on a personal level, she is also really able to spend a lot more time with her family members and friends and still have the success that she enjoys in her profession. The last point I want to cover today is encouraging you to practice healthy boundaries. Because as a successful entrepreneur or leader, it's easy for your boundaries to become fuzzy, and you don't want that. When we love what we do, it's easy for boundary lines to become fuzzy because we want to continue working. We like helping people. We like making a bigger impact with our work. But if you like it too much and you ignore your other needs for social connection, romance, time with your children, health, relaxation, fun, you're going to hit a wall. If you don't learn to say no, you will hit the wall of exhaustion. and it's not a pretty wall. Imagine somebody running into a wall. It's not a pretty sight. You get bruised, you get banged, you get bloody, you might start crying. You are not going to be in a good place. And I don't want to see you go there. And I'm sorry if some of you already have hit that wall. But like I said, this is your second chance, your second opportunity. Every single day you have a second chance to learn how to live life in a healthier way that honors your needs, because you are valuable. And when you're setting healthy boundaries, you are telling yourself that you're important. I am important. That's why I set healthy boundaries, honoring myself. It might feel really weird for some of you to simply honor your own needs. You might have been trained by your parents or heard something from someone else in business or a personal connection, and they might have said, you know, good for you for working so hard and never stopping. I just really think that your work ethic is incredible. So if someone has said something like that to you before, it's a wonderful compliment, but it can make you feel like others really think you're cool and quite awesome and wonderful, and they admire you because of your work ethic and only your work ethic. And psychologists have known for a long time that people feel valuable dependent on the beliefs of others. So if your value needs are being met by other people, you will be disappointed. And how this ties into boundaries is because if you believe that you have to work to earn your feelings of worth and value, you will never stop working. So what I would suggest is listen to what, so I believe in Jesus. I think many of you know my personal spiritual beliefs. And so I know that no matter if other people think I'm valuable or not, whatever other people think about me doesn't matter. What matters is what God believes about me and what He says about me. So I know that I'm valuable, and I know that you're valuable. And when you know that you are valuable and that doesn't change, no matter if you screw up, you mess up, it doesn't change. No matter if you're doing a really good job at work and you're exceeding all of your expectations, your boss is happy, maybe you're the boss, your colleagues are happy, your clients are happy, it doesn't make you more valuable. You're always valuable and your value doesn't change. And when you believe that, then you can say no more often to people because you're not so concerned about how they'll view you when you say no. I'm sorry, I can't take that on this week. Maybe this person would be a better person to help you with that. I'm sorry, no, I can't take on that volunteer task this week because I've had an extra busy week at work and I've already reached my limit. Maybe next month, call me back in a month. There are different ways to say, no, sorry, I can't take that on. But when you learn to set healthy boundaries for yourself, you're honoring your own needs. You're going to be able to be more productive. You're going to become more successful because you become happier. You're more well rested, and your needs for fun and connection are being met. So know that when you say, no, I'm sorry, I can't take on that commitment this week or today, you are actually benefiting your customers and clients or patients. You're not taking away from them. You're actually adding to how productive you can be when you step back and create healthy boundaries for yourself. So any questions, I welcome any questions right now that are coming up for you as we touch on these topics of overcoming exhaustion and burnout. Any questions I can answer while I'm training in the chat box. Here's a testimonial from a business owner. She owns a clothing store on Vancouver Island. She took part in coaching with me, and when she first hired me, she was feeling really out of balance, like she didn't have time for herself. Running her own business is a lot of work. It requires a lot of her time, a lot of her mental energy, and she felt like she didn't have any time for herself anymore. And I'm sure a lot of you understand what that feels like. It's frustrating and very aggravating, and it can be stress inducing as well. And she was feeling quite stressed out. She gained some skills that actually have helped her in her marriage to decrease stress in her marriage because she was working on herself. So you see how that beautiful, powerful ripple effect happens. When you prioritize and invest in yourself, your family benefits from that. So awesome. So I highly recommend reaching out for support and mentorship when you know that you need it. She really benefited, her family really benefited, and also she learned how to communicate in a way that empowered her to start facing conflict in the workplace and at home instead of avoiding it, which means that she started overcoming a lot of her fears and became way more confident and way more well-rested feeling. Super happy for her results. I want to encourage you today. Some of you are thinking that, you know, it's too late. I've already hit the wall. I'm totally worn out. There is no perfect timing for you to make a change and start taking new action. You can change today. You can take new actions that are going to produce new results in your life. Been talking so much, I'm thirsty. Just give me a minute here. So how much longer are you going to wait for the perfect timing? What I believe is the best thing you can do right now is reach out for support. Get someone who you can be accountable with. Get the mentorship you need from somebody who's gone before you. You are going to catapult your growth and success fast forward, way faster in your own life than you can on your own. You have to ask yourself, what's it costing me to not take action? You know, you could be experiencing so much more happiness right now if you took some new action steps. You may be experiencing such a high amount of stress that it's already started affecting your health. Is that you? I hope it's not, but I know that stress affects people in many different ways, and a lot of people experience big time health issues because they've let themselves stay stuck in a place of exhaustion for so long. So how has exhaustion impacted you? What's the cost that you've paid? And by the way, what's the cost that your family is paying right now? This comes straight from my heart. Sometimes family members have to put up with a less than enjoyable mom, dad, spouse, daughter, son, because you're not taking care of your highest needs. Is that what's happening in your life right now? Are you cranky, irritable, short, blunt, and then you just have to apologize? Or maybe you're feeling too proud, so you don't want to apologize, but you feel badly because of what you've done? Instead of having so many regrets because of losing your temper or being impatient and living a life where you feel anxious and like everything's urgent, why not consider what kind of a price your family is paying? Because when you do, it's uncomfortable. It's kind of painful to consider that question and to understand that it's actually probably a reality in your own life. But it's important to know what's going on. And it empowers you because you know that you can create a new life, that you can become a new person, the ideal version of you, right? You do actually have a lot of hope. You have hope because you have a choice right now. In the next 30 days, what would be possible for you if you had more time? if you knew how to deal with your stress in a better way? Just think about that. What would it mean for you? What would be possible if you had more time and less stress? Can you imagine the relationships that you could create in your workplace if you weren't so stressed out most of the time? Can you imagine how much more fun you'd be having because you'd have more time? Can you imagine like you'd actually have time to put your feet up? Maybe you'd actually take time and lay in a hammock? Man, that sounds good. How would you like to create that amazing life balance in the next 30, 60, or 90 days? My invitation for you is take my hand. Conquer your stress. Become bigger than your stress, bigger than your fears as you take action with me. Kickstart your health again to a place where you feel amazing. My offer for you today is called the Time Freedom Breakthrough Formula. It's an hour of time that you spend with me, and it's completely free. Yes, I said completely free. This is like an incredible offer. It's the best time you're going to spend on yourself, your personal life, and your business this year. It's exclusive time with me that's laser focused, where you're going to get mentorship, support, and accountability. You're going to get really clear on what kind of action plan we're going to create so that you can increase your productivity without feeling worn out anymore.